This isn't an emergency broadcast.
No.
Like we did yesterday with Demko, but we will talk about Demko. Thanks to everyone for joining us here. We will talk about all things Canucks after the first two games. Look ahead to the next two. Remind you to sign up for your posters. Remind you to go to theprovince.com, sign up for Canuck Report. You'll get everything delivered to you via email. I think we did about 6 different stories yesterday. We're going to fill you up as long as the Canucks are in the playoffs. And actually, after they're knocked out, we'll go a bit crazy too. And then catch our breath and go to free agency. Maybe we have a Stanley Cup parade to cover. I don't know. All right. 1-1. Tell me your thoughts. You worried about this series at all?
Not really. I came away thinking a lot about, honestly, the last question I asked post-game Tuesday with Andrew Burnett, coach of the Predators, and saying, listen, you've taken a win on the road. You're going home. What's the focus for your guys to seize control here? And he went in a completely different direction, which was basically implying that he thinks they've been really lucky. And, it squared really well with what Philip Forsberg said with, we can't expect to play like that in the third period and survive. That the defensive, they defended well enough, but they created nothing. And that is more than anything Brunett's concern, is that he does not see his team doing enough offensively to be sustainable. And Rick Tocchet, said, listen, I think we gave up 4 or 5 scoring chances the whole game. And he's not wrong, right? Like, you look at, and it, in the end, it was similar to what happened on Sunday night. That there were the Predators. The first goal is a crazy bounce. Casey DeSmith loses sight of the puck. Maybe Thatcher Demko tracks it better, but here we are, right? DeSmith can't. It bounces horribly. I watched it happen in front of us. The way it skipped off the ice was wild. So that's bad luck. But the second goal, that's the Forsberg play down low. Interesting. Chris Higgins pointing out to me that a thing like Forsberg is so wild. He has a long stick. And so defenders don't necessarily know what you're going to do with the puck. That was his kind of take. Noah Juleson, obviously, he gets caught out. He makes mistakes, right? Like, it's going to happen. Unfortunately, it's a massive mistake. Gets overreads the play. Forsberg scored 48 goals. It's like, there's a reason why this guy is one of the top wingers in the NHL. Like, he had a fantastic moment. He wasn't that great in the game, but fantastic moment, right? And then the third goal is Pettersson, end of a long shift. That line should have been off. Pettersson, terrible decision with the puck. On they're a bad rebound. DeSmith should probably swallow that puck up, right? So maybe one goal that's entirely about stupid play, one goal that's about bad luck, and one goal that's just a fantastic play, right? Like, you've got to take your moments, and that's what Nashville's done. But at the end of the day, you're not going to hit on every single one of your lottery tickets, and so you look at the way they feel is that, wow, we're lucky that we come away from this 1-1. They're feeling good, but they're going to have to do a lot more. And Rick Tocchett's just like, we need to shoot quicker. Like, that's that simple. And so there were lots of things happening, as Tocchet pointed out. Listen, they hit, 2 posts. They missed 2 empty wide open nets. They hit one of those, and all of a sudden saying, oh, like, the power play delivered. It is such a fine margin in all of this. So no, I mean, I think the Canucks still, it sounds weird to say, having lost a game and given up a loss at home, I think they're still in the driver's seat here. That they've got 2 more home games at worst, 1 more at best. They've got a lot to play for here.
Let's face it, hockey's the most random sport out of all of the sort of big sports, just because, as you said, crazy bounce off a deflection, the first goal early on when you've got your backup goalie in. And all of a sudden you could just, even, I don't know what it was like in the building, but for all the electricity people talked about in game 1, it just seemed like at that moment the place just deflated. And I'm sure the players in their head too, when they got the news Demko's out, and they probably know much more than we do about the injury and how long it is. So maybe that was making them think a little bit. But if you're with your backup goalie on like that day, you find out that this is happening. Your second best player is so far in his own head that he's missing, and you still dominate the game that much.
Yeah.
and it's only by virtue of some bad luck and bad bounces that you lose the game. I think in the back of your mind, you've got to show some urgency, but you're also going to say, you know what, all things considered, we play that game 9 more times, we probably win 9 of them. So
yeah, the idea that that Nashville's going to win 3 of the next, or sorry, yeah, 3 of the next 5 games like that.
yeah, not going to
It's
happen.
possible, but it's still unlikely.
Yeah. So what to you is the bigger issue? Is it goaltending or is it getting Pettersson going?
Getting Pettersson going. I mean, it's getting Pettersson going. He knows it. Like, it's not one that we've poked too much at, because in the end, you knew he knew it. But
Come on, why is Vancouver media so nasty, Patrick?
Now it's a thing.
I know.
Exactly. It's a thing. And he missed the net. He hit the post. He's not showing any confidence with the shot. Getting too fine, waiting for the perfect shot. People pointed out, like, the number of goals. Like, Grady Sasker made a great reminder of a goal that Pettersson scored last year against Nashville. Now, obviously, different coach, but still in a tough position. Resets where he's shooting from, picks top corner. They have a fantastic. The build-up pregame is in the arena has been absolutely fantastic, and they're showing part of the build-up is a series of clips, highlights from the season, and the goal that Pettersson scored against the Rangers, where he picked up the rebound and dekes around inside, basically underneath Shesterkin and around the post. It was like in January. It was an amazing, amazing, beautiful play, and we haven't seen him do anything like that since January. Like, that player is there. Like, he's still there. He's in, but he's just, there's something, he needs to get the oomph back. It's a wild thing to watch happen right now, because you watch him off the puck and he's standing around and he looks lost. He doesn't know what to do. And I'm maybe it's because he's never had this happen in his life before, and he is just absolutely in the bottom of a pit and doesn't know where to even put his first handhold, to climb out of the pit.
There was that other chance where he had that good luck from the side,
right,
and he passed the puck. And you're right. Like, and I don't want to typify him as streaky, but he has been a guy that when he's at his best, it just seems to be coming natural, just flowing.
Yeah.
He's not thinking about it. It's just like,
yeah,
scores a great goal and another one's coming. And I think we can assume that at some point that player will show up. But I do wonder, he was steadfast at first, didn't want to talk about the contract during the season. And I wonder if not having got that, and now everyone's talking about the money on top of, like, when is he gonna? And I don't, I know players. I don't read anything. I don't see anything. I wonder how aware they are. But I'm a bit alarmed at how quickly some people have turned on him. But I'm sure it's a very small minority. I'm with you. I think they win this series, but they're going to need him going, and they're going to need better goaltending to beat your Edmontons, Vegas, Colorado, Winnipeg, whoever gets through, right?
Yeah.
I think the second round is where the worry comes in.
Yeah,
because
certainly.
Yeah, and so how is there? I know you're doing a story on mentality and players' mentality in these situations. How do they get him going? Do they just have to be patient, or are there things Rick Tocchet can do to spur that on?
Well, first of all, here's the thing, just on the streakiness thing. Last year, 103 points, right? He's the same player. He had 89 points this year, right? Like, he's actually, like, even with all the struggles, only 14 points off last year's pace. Last year, the longest he went without a point was 2 games, and he had, I think, 5 times. And this year, in the end, it was this atrocious finish to the season, and he still had 89 points. Yeah. Like the talent is there, the ability is there. The mentality thing is a challenge. Like, I think a lot about Antoine Roussel. I had a great chat with him yesterday, and he's going to be he's the top part of the story. And he played essentially 3 times in the playoffs. First with Dallas as a young player, they played six games. He came to all full of energy. You're going to hit everything. You're going to never stop moving. And, you don't win, but you're like, oh, well, we've been in the playoffs. I'll be in the playoffs every year. And then they missed the playoffs. And then they're back the next year, and they made it to the second round. And he said, that second time you realize you're not necessarily going to be in the playoffs every year, that these moments do count. They mean a lot. The challenge then becomes how to manage your nerves, because you get nervous about being nervous. It's a reinforcement of all that. And so I think Pettersson in a way is maybe a bit like that. Like he's now having these nerves, the sort of stage fright almost, that there's an element of, I need to find my way to this. Oh my goodness, how am I going to get there? And then Roussel. I mean, Roussel loved he. It seems to be one of the few people who actually really enjoyed the bubble experience. I think partly because there was playoff hockey and it's something to play for, and it gave him something to do. And he said that those playoffs, he knew maybe they'll never get in the playoffs again. Like he was hopeful they would, but he played as if this was going to be the last time, and it obviously ended up being the last time for him. But I think Pettersson is in that second one where it's like, okay, you've now learned how to manage the pressure on yourself, and that's something that I talked to Ryan McDonough from the Predators, who's played playoffs forever. It's like he was there when they invented the playoffs, and he said, yeah, there is a challenge for any young player for recognizing it's a new way. They always talk about don't get high, don't get too low. Like you need to bring the energy, you need to be on point, and you need to find a way to like get yourself game to game to game and keep going and keep going and keep going. And Pettersson, yeah, like I said, I mean, everybody sees it. He looks lost. And, for a while I was trying to figure out, is he hurt? Maybe he's dealing with it. Maybe he's got a back, or, no. And I saw enough things last night. There were moments where he did great things. He carried the ball. He drew a penalty, right? Like he cut in the middle. He did what he should be doing, right? And he's a player that challenges. That's something he does. He challenges defensemen right up tight. He gets on them. He makes them, I'm going to beat you. How are you going to stop me? And that's why he draws a lot of penalties. But we see him off the puck, looking a little bit lost. The puck comes to him, double clutching. Someone, even said even triple clutching. Like, you got to release. The release has got to get there. And don't, it's almost like they're so worried about missing the net that they're not going to shoot. And then when they shoot, they're missing the net anyway. Like, yeah. They need to get quicker. They need to release the puck. I mean, Rick Tocchet's message is pretty clear at this point that they're. Am I allowed to say dithering? Is that a word that's too big? That's a word my dad would use. They're dithering on the puck too much.
Hey, look,
let it go.
Some guys think buttress is a big word, and it really isn't. But those are the kind of people who love the fact that Mozart is in the pregame video because it reminds them of going to a fancy brunch. All right, so I just will wrap up here by asking you, Pettersson is taking, and obviously this is the salary cap era. The bigger your paycheck, the more, the bigger the albatross, right? Brock Besser hasn't done a lot either. Nope. I think we can say, particularly game one, Miller was great. Yes. But who for you, like, it's so funny for a team that has dominated both games significantly. Now there's the angst for various other reasons, but they are not firing on full cylinders or on all cylinders. Who else do you think needs to crank it up a little bit?
Well, I think you're right. Brock Besser's one to highlight. 2 shots in 2 games.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he's going to get it, right? Like he performed all season, right? He's going to get his chances. He's just right now, that's a reason why they've lost 1 game, right? He was the Besser Miller Suter line was fantastic, as good as we've ever seen them on Sunday night, in terms of their ability to create. And they were creating stuff. It wasn't just they held on to the puck; like they were creating stuff. And last night, a lot of possession. They've just got to find. He's got to find space. Niels Höglander basically got benched last night. It was a totally under discussed point. I made it a point on my my Canucks coffee on Wednesday morning. Like, he played 8 minutes, and that's a guy that has 24 goals in the end. 24 goals,
yeah.
Yeah, like he's not a nothing player, and you want to talk about Pettersson's struggles. We'll talk about his winger. Like, he's a guy. It was Nikita Zadorov clearly is made for this. He's been flying and playing great, and he's such an exciting player. Like, I think he's been perfect for what they need. So I'm not worried about him. But yeah, I mean, I think, you know, you look at Pettersson, you look at Höglander, you look at Besser. Like, those are three guys you need goals from. You know, combine what 90 some goals this season, right? Like those are players that haven't shown enough, and you need to see more of them.
Let me ask you this: if you're talking, do you stay patient with your lines, or do you mix them up?
I think you got to think about. You don't have a lot of options at the end of the day. It was interesting at more than once. Like, they went with Lotto a bunch, and then a couple times we actually saw Pettersson, Miller, and Lindholm, which was an interesting wrinkle. I'm not sure that's going to work. I might be tempted to have a look at getting Lindholm back with Pettersson. Maybe you try Lindholm, Pettersson, Höglander again. You can put Bluger back with Joshua and Garland. Like, those guys work well together. Put Nils Oman on the lineup, or maybe get Vasily Podkolzin. I mean, I'm fascinated to see if maybe Vasily Podkolzin's the winger that needs to be on Pettersson's line. Like, he's done enough physically. He obviously hasn't been shooting enough, but when he's been in the lineup, he's brought a physical edge and a puck control edge. There's enough there. I think it's worth a shot. So I'm interested to see. I don't think there's any doubt that Rick Tocchet's going to mix up his lineup on Friday night. You know, but I think you could move Sam Lafferty into fourth line center if you want, and bring somebody else in. There's a few options to play around with here, but I don't think right now, the way Ilya Mikheyev is, you know, he's back in the kind of dead zone that he found himself in. I don't think he's the guy that's going to bring the spark to that line. You've got to bring something else. It's not Lafferty. He doesn't have the hands to do it. Doesn't have quite the hockey IQ to do it. I'm interested by a guy like Podkolzin, or again, like Lindholm, I think has done enough. He seems to be playing well enough. He's not perfectly suited to wing, but maybe he's a guy. Maybe that's something you got to try.
All right. When they come back from Nashville, we know there's going to be a game 5.
Yes.
What's the series going to be at that point?
I'm still sticking with. I think it's going to take 6 games. I think they'll split in Nashville, come back. You know, I think if it's going to happen, they're going to have to go back to Nashville. Realistically, I think there's just enough in the Predators game. They obviously, like I said, the Forsberg is enough of a threat on his own that he's going to score. And Roman Josi obviously is a fantastic defenseman. It's been interesting. Ryan O'Reilly, like, I don't want to oversay it, you know, has looked a little old. Like, he's played well. He scored that goal, obviously, on Sunday night. Perfect shot. But we haven't seen him. You know, he is not the vintage Ryan O'Reilly. Or maybe he is technically, I guess, would be vintage Ryan O'Reilly. But either way, there's enough gaps and enough holes. And we saw the puck possession, the way the Canucks played puck possession. And Rick Tocchet, he wouldn't say what it was, but he fully believes that there is essentially some sort of tactical element to what they can do to break down the Predators that he doesn't think they're doing enough. It has something to do with getting the puck behind them and turning them around. I'm not quite sure what it is, but he kind of nodded to it last night when he told us. I think it's a fascinating series. These are two great coaches, two super well coached teams, super interesting styles of play. I think there's enough there that we're going to see, you know, it's a 6-gamer, as I've been saying from the start.
All right. Great stuff, Patrick. Thanks to everyone for watching, listening. You can read all of Patrick's, Ben's, JJ, Steve's stuff at theprovince.com, vancouversun.com if you're watching through there. But yeah, we're going to be wall to wall in this playoff series. I do expect it to go at least to the second round, but we'll see. It's fun. We got games Friday. We got games Sunday afternoon. I mean, I do see the weather's not supposed to be great, so that's good. Some early playoff hockey for us. Thanks, Patrick. We will talk to you next week.
Yep. See you later.